James Wilson? I said, well, depends. I owe you money? He says, no, I have a letter for you. So I opened up the letter and it says, on behalf of the United States government, you are now required to report for active duty to the Persian Gulf. And I was like, I'm down, let's go. Hi, my name's Kevin Wilson. I'm a United States Marine Corps veteran. I joined the Marine Corps in 1986. I got out in 1990. As Lance Corporal, actually I was the senior Lance Corporal in the whole division of 3-2 at 43 months time of grade. So I was born in Glendale, California. I was raised in South Pasadena, California. Obviously, South Pasadena is just a little bit south of Pasadena. It was a pretty nice neighborhood. I grew up in a nice, loving household. There was no abuse, no alcoholism, nothing like that. So I was kind of a privileged kid. Some might say that my parents were latchkey parents, or I was a latchkey kid. Both my parents worked all day long. And so that required my brother and I to pretty much raise ourselves. And so from the age of like 11 till I got out of high school, my brother and I pretty much raised ourselves in a nice, loving home in South Pasadena, California. We were the typical brothers where we would race BMX religiously, really hardcore BMX riders. We were into motocross, skating, and stuff like that. So we were, since I went to Pendleton or to MCRD San Diego, you might say that I was a typical Hollywood Marine, where I was Southern California all the way down the line. For the most part, we were good kids. We were always able to know just when to stop misbehaving, so we didn't get into major trouble. We did have our run-ins with the law. There was one time where my brother and I found some wheelchairs in the back of a medical supply business in South Pass, and we happened to take those wheelchairs home with us. And honestly, we thought that they were trash, but it turned out that we actually stole them, that we didn't know that we stole them. We took them home and we'd be riding around town in these wheelchairs, and we became very adept at wheeling and jumping off curbs and going downstairs in these wheelchairs. Until one day we were in front of Safeway in South Pass, and someone walked out and they thought that we were really disabled, and they thought that we were asking for money. So they gave my brother $1. We were sitting out in front of the market, just kind of messing around, and we figured, oh my gosh, we could get money from this. So we went back home and we put on our Boy Scout uniforms, and we came back to the store. We sat out in front of the store for a couple hours, and we made like $50 with our Boy Scout uniforms on, sitting in wheelchairs, asking for money. They called the cops on us. The cops came, grabbed us, took us back home, and knocked on the door. My mom says, yes, how can I help you? I said, well, we just caught your kids begging for money at Safeway, and these wheelchairs are actually stolen from the medical supply center, and we didn't know that. We said, we didn't steal them, Mom. We found them. They were just sitting by the trash can. But they said that we stole them. So that was about the extent of my criminal activity when I was growing up. I was not inspired by anything, actually. The only thing that inspired me to join the military was I had no high school diploma. Well, what happened was when I was in high school and I was racing BMX bikes all the time, I was racing, we were jumping, we're doing stuff like that all around town. I would inevitably ditch school to work on my bike or to go riding or go racing. So the problem was I essentially ditched 2 years of school, and I never got my high school diploma. So the funny part about it is I have the school record for South Pasadena High School for the least amount of citizenship points, where to graduate from high school, you had to have 100 or 80 citizenship points. And every time you have an unexcused absence, you lose 3 points. And I think when I was scheduled to get out of high school, I think I had negative 10,000 citizenship points. So I was never going to graduate from high school. I went home. One time I was at home and the Navy called me and they said, hello, is James Wilson there? And that's my real name. They said, James Wilson there? And I said, no, James Wilson doesn't live here. And they said, okay, well, let them know that the Navy called. And then the Army called me a couple weeks later. I didn't want to talk to them either. I had no intention of ever joining any military service until one day I was really hungry. I was bored and I had nothing better to do. And I'm sitting at home watching MTV. The Marine Corps recruiter called me, and the Marine Corps recruiter says, hey, how would you like to join the Marine Corps? I said, I have no interest in joining the Marine Corps. And he said, well, what are you going to do with your life? What have you done? I said, I have no idea. I didn't even graduate high school. I don't know what I'm going to do. And he goes, I'll tell you what, why don't you come out and I'll buy you lunch, and why don't you come out and I'll talk to you? I said, oh, free lunch? I'm down. So the recruiter came by, picked me up, took me out to Denny's in South Pass, bought me a free lunch, and I signed the document. I signed on the dotted line 2 hours later to be a reserve cook in the United States Marine Corps. When I got home, I told my mom, hey, guess what? I just joined the Marine Corps. And she's like, well, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to be a cook in the reserves. And she says, look, no, you do something decent. If you're going to join the military, if you're going to join the Marine Corps, if you're going to be a bear, be a grizzly, join full time and do something. So I called my recruiter back and I said, can I change? Can I go active duty? He was ecstatic. He said, absolutely. So fill out the paperwork, joined active duty, and became a 0311 infantry Marine, which is another story, because when I went to go take the ASVAB, there were guys that were studying for weeks or months to take the ASVAB. I showed up with no preparations. I was making pictures on the ASVAB test. I didn't even try to take the ASVAB. I just was making pictures of it. I think I qualified to be a motor T or a grunt. The recruiter says, hey, you know what? We have this new thing called security forces. And I go, what's security forces? And he says, do you like, you want to be a cop? And I go, yeah, the cops sound cool. He goes, well, this is almost like being an MP. And I go, ooh, an MP. Oh, yeah, that sounds good. He goes, okay, we'll get you down for security forces. So I joined as a security force Marine. And as some of you have already been on here that I've watched their videos, you got the same story that I did, where it was really not, you're really not an MP, and we're just a grunt, and a glorified grunt going to the barracks. The recruiting process now is very detailed, where you go to these pre-interviews and you go to these meetings, and they teach you Marine Corps knowledge, and you have to work out, and they take you on runs, and your recruiter stays in really good contact with you throughout the preceding time where you go to boot camp. With me, it was exactly the opposite. After I signed the documents and I was set to go, I had approximately a 6 month wait before I went to boot camp. So during this time, my recruiter never called me once. I never took one class. I never ran one block. I never did anything. I just showed up one day and I said, I'm here. And my recruiter goes, great, let's go to MEPS. Leading up to going to boot camp, my friends wanted to throw me a going away party. Like some people have going away parties, their families and their grandmas and grandpas and aunts and uncles come to the party. This wasn't that type of party. My friends threw this party for me. So what we did was we conned my dad into leaving for the night. I can't remember where we sent him, but it was just my brother and my friends and that type of thing. We had this big cake party. It got way out of hand. I was the most popular kid in school, but for some reason at this Saturday night, I was a very popular person. Like, we had like 200 people in our house. It was crazy. We had a keg of beer. And I remember I was in my bedroom trying to talk to a young lady in my bedroom, and my friends came rushing in. They pulled out a big bag. It was a ball of cocaine. Now, I don't do cocaine anyways, but I surely wasn't going to do cocaine when I was going for the Marine Corps. And this is even before they did drug tests before the Marines. Well, what are we going to do with this? So everybody's like, well, we need something. We need something to cut up the coke on it. And I was like, I don't have anything. And my friend looked up on my wall, and I had a picture of Jesus, the typical picture of Jesus. And he takes the picture of Jesus off the table, off the counter, and off the wall, and he puts it on my bed. And I can't believe that these people at my party, they're sitting there cutting lines of coke on Jesus's face. So showed up at MEPS. I was there was probably, 30 people at MEPS that night that were going in the military. There was probably like 20 Army, 10 Navy, and I was the only Marine. And I thought I should have known better at that particular time that I was in for something special, because I was the only Marine at MEPS that one night. And then obviously when everybody that goes to MCRD San Diego, everybody has to make the stop, right? So we always have to stop at Denny's. We stopped at Denny's, we had lunch, and then we got back on the bus, and the bus driver says, okay, he read us a riot act. Okay, here we go, guys. If you have any drugs, if you have any cigarettes, if you have any chewing tobacco, if you have any contraband, if any time, you better leave it on the bus now, because they're gonna get it when you get down to MCRD San Diego. We got off the bus. We got on the infamous yellow footprints, all that stuff, no problem. That's the first week that I was there. We're still in receiving, right? Like everybody before you get your drill instructors. And we were all laying in bed one night, and I guess we had rifles that were locked on rifle racks in the receiving barracks. And there was a guy on fire watch that night, and he was kind of screwing around. He wasn't really paying attention. Officer D comes walking in, and we're all laying there. We weren't quite asleep yet, and he goes, "Hey, Marine, how many weapons do you have on deck?" And the sentry, the guy that was on fire watch, goes, "I have no idea, sir. I'm just walking around." He goes, "What?" So he starts PTing this guy, tells me to get on his face. We're all kind of like surprised, and we're kind of like scared a little bit. And after he was done PTing this guy for not knowing how many weapons, I don't even know if he was even told how many weapons were on deck. He was leaving, and the guy, the recruit, didn't even know what he was supposed to do. So he just stood there. He goes, "Yeah, I'm not even getting nothing. Not even a bye-bye, sir." So the guy stands up there, he goes and salutes him and says, "Bye-bye, sir." So we were all fell out laughing. It was so funny because he was like, we all know now that you don't say "bye-bye, sir" when you salute an officer, especially officer of the day. It was kind of funny. They call me Charlie Brown. That was my nickname in boot camp. They say, "Hey, Charlie Brown." And I go, they're like, "Hey, Charlie Brown." And I go, well, look around, where the hell is Charlie Brown at? They say, "That you're Charlie Brown." I go, "I am?" And they said, "Yes." And I go, "Okay." So now from that point on, after like the second, third week I was at boot camp, I was known as Charlie Brown. So at the end of first phase, we all know that, you got in the first phase, then you go to the rifle range for second phase. At the end of first phase, my green belt comes to me and goes, "Well, hey, Charlie Brown, get your shit, get on that Humvee." And I go, "Why?" And he goes, "You're not going anywhere. You're not going to the field. You're not going to second phase. You're going back to first phase." I go, "What the hell's what? What did I do? I didn't do nothing wrong." Okay, fine. So I'm all scared. I jump out of the Humvee. I get my stuff. I go back to the quarterdeck, and the senior drill instructor walks up and goes, "Wilson, what the hell are you doing here?" And I go, "Sir, this private was told that he was going back to first phase, sir." And he goes, "Oh my gosh, Wilson, dude, get back on the bus to go to the rifle range." That was a big thing where every time I went to the next phase, they would tell me I'm going back to the other phase. I caught on the second time going out, leaving the rifle range, going back to third phase. I realized that they were just screwing with me, but I wasn't the worst guy at boot camp, but I wasn't the best either. I was kind of mid-pack, and I guess in boot camp, that's probably where you want to be. I was pretty good at running. I was excellent at doing sit-ups. The pull-ups were my problem. I mean, the best shape I ever was in my life was in boot camp, and even that, I could only do 12 pull-ups max before I never was able to get that many pull-ups. Only really one time that I got into really big trouble in boot camp was, as we all know that you're not supposed to fall asleep until you're given permission to go to sleep. So one night after a hard day of training, we were laying at attention in our racks, and I was so tired, I happened to fall asleep before the drill instructors told us to adjust. So as I'm laying there on my back, I felt something on my nose, and I was on the top bunk, by the way, and I'm laying there and feeling something on my nose, and I opened my eyes, and it was my drill instructor looking down on me, breathing on me, and he had his campaign cover on, and it was tapping me in the forehead, and I'm all, "Oh crap, I was just asleep." And he goes, "Holy shit, Wilson wants to go to sleep. Hey everybody, Private Wilson wants to sleep at attention. He thinks he's special. He wants to go to sleep before everybody else. Everybody out of your racks, get online." Everybody has to get out of the racks. Everybody's lower laying on their rack. They're ready to go to sleep. They get out. We're all standing on a line. And he goes, "Everybody dump the footlocker." So everybody had to dump their footlockers. "Everybody get your footlocker and get in the shower." So we had to get the footlockers, everybody run in the shower, and we're all in our underwear. My rack mate was actually a Golden Gloves boxing champion from Texas. And he told me, he goes, "Wilson, tonight you're in trouble." He goes, "We're going to take care of you tonight." So I thought I was going to get blanket party. So after we got back out of the shower, he made us all lay at attention. And he said that, "Okay, fire watch, if you see anybody that's not at attention, then I want their name, and tomorrow they're all going to pay."